Welcome to the Upland Show, everybody. My name is McSqueeb. I've got my buddy LOYLDOYL here, and we have a special guest. We have Uplando with us
The one and
today.
only Uplando, man. We're so excited to have you. How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's good. It's good. I know the show, and I've watched LOYLDOYL unwrap some Spirit Legit. So I'm glad to be on the show. I'm ready to go. I was in the mob tour, so it's good to have McSqueeb and LOYLDOYL. It's great. I love it.
Long-time listener, first-time caller, right?
Right. That's right. Exactly.
Excellent. Well, so everybody out there, this is kind of a cool episode, not only because we have Uplando here, but because this is the first of many what we are calling Upland Stories. This is going to be a series moving forward. We'll continue with our other shows, of course, our other episodes, just as usual. But we're going to weave into our show some interviews with some key players, some folks out there who've got some unique approaches to the game that I think might give us all some perspective and help us to know how to just really craft our own strategy just a little bit more effectively.
Absolutely. So let's jump right into the meat of it then. Uplando, give us kind of where did you first hear about Upland and kind of give us your intro story of getting into the game.
Yeah, it's all based around, I think most of us find our path here through crypto and blockchain, and that's really how I found it. I was first introduced to dApps or game-based apps through CryptoKitties. I mean, that was the first big one, right? On Ethereum, and it was very interesting. If you never had CryptoKitties or played CryptoKitties, you're purchasing cats, and you're thus then breeding the cats and creating more cats, and so you get to adorn the cats with different kinds of tiaras and ties and different kinds of things. And if you haven't seen Angel Island in Upland, there is a retirement island just north of San Francisco that the kitties live on, or they go to retire, as it were. And so that's what really, perked up my, interest in this was I saw cross-chain interactivity between the Ethereum chain and then what otherwise is the EOS chain, and bringing those NFTs in. So that kind of really raised my eyebrows, and I had seen it and I bookmarked it, and I thought, right when and prior to this, before they did that, I had played CryptoKitties and I saw Upland being advertised, and I can't remember how I found it, but I was like, I'll bookmark. I'll get back to that when it happens. And then a year into their game, I found it in something I was looking at. I went, oh, I meant to do that. And so I got in, and I got in around Fresno when that was my starter city. So that's how I got introduced to Upland.
Hey, that's pretty early. Fresno is what, the third city released in Upland, so you definitely got in pretty early.
City number 3. Yep.
That Kitty Island, what is it? Angel Island, Kitty Island.
CryptoKitties.
Dude,
Yeah,
that's
Angel Island, yeah.
dude. That's one of those hidden gems of Upland that probably a lot of people don't even know is in the game. We'll have to do a video sometime showing some like top secrets that a lot of people don't actually know is even there.
Yeah,
so
that's a good
yeah,
idea.
that's really cool.
It's a good little spoiler. It's a good little Easter egg. I mean, you can send yourself over to the island, hang out with the kitties if you need a little rest and relaxation over there.
So let me ask you, how much, if it's all right, if I ask, like, have you invested a lot of your personal funds into the game, or have you been more of the strategy of trying to not put too much in and just will and deal your way up? How's that going for you?
I think everybody starts with that idea. I'm just going to put a little bit in, I'm test the waters, and before you know it, you're hitting that button that would otherwise be the confirmation in your purchase of Upland. And I make the same pathway. Some people call them mistakes. I just, it's the way that you approach this. I didn't have a referral fee, or I didn't have a referral link. Nobody referred me to it. And I went in, and I think my first in was $20. And I got the bonus off of that. And I quickly went through that. I quickly blew through that.
Yeah.
But I was buying properties at 500 UPIX in Fresno. And sub 1,000 UPIX. So yes, the answer to that, the short answer to that is yes. I have put in a favorable amount, but I have also withdrawn USD since that's come into play.
Very cool. Very cool. Fresno was actually my starter city as well, and I decided to go big on a few of them pretty early on. I think that I think I was there actually after the city release, so I started in November of 2019, right?
2020.
No, November of 2020, and Fresno had already been released, so I was kind of getting in late on some of those. But yeah, that was my starter city.
Was Fresno?
We have the
Yeah, it
same
was Fresno.
start.
Okay.
We have the same start date, just about.
Yeah. So, and I remember as I started to get more and more into it, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go after some of these bigger collections. And most of them were pretty sold out, but I think Olive Avenue still had a few really big ones there at the end. And I remember that was one of my first real, like, feeling the anxiety of, like, man, am I really spending this much money on a virtual property, you know? And then before you know it, you've put in $40,000, dude.
I don't know that I've been that far, but thank you very much for that mention of what you've done here.
You mentioned that you started with crypto, and then you once you learned about Upland, you moved into Upland. Are you still in crypto, and is it still kind of is it still a balanced approach for you? Like you're about half time in crypto and half time in Upland, or are you moved more into Upland?
Yeah, I think that the takeaway and the point being is there is so much time you can involve in this, and it is a balance for me right now. I think for cryptocurrency, I started with Mt. Gox. It's Magic the Gathering online exchange. If you were ever familiar with that exchange, it's where we were able to go and work with Magic the Gathering. That's kind of how I got started into this. And in my opinion, Magic the Gathering is the real first ever NFT. Although it is a real tangible, product, Magic the Gathering took the best of everything that I loved from from growing up, my adolescence all the way up. It was Dungeons and Dragons and chess and this art all put into one, like to explain it in like an Uno type of gameplay, right? You're interacting with people and you have these cards that have errata on them that you're taking an action and you've got a goal. And so that appeal, I had a very big interest. I'm not a very good artist, so comic books, I was very, very drawn to comic books and those types of that type of artwork. Of course, just artwork in general, but that led to me collecting comic books, into opening a comic book store, running a comic book store, and getting into Magic the Gathering, going through that entire process, and that was mid 1990s, and that just everything's kind of led. It's been an interesting way at how the acquaintances, and I talk about this a lot in the Upland Cafe, about acquaintances turn into friendship, friendship turns into business, business turns into breaking bread, right? And that's kind of how I see life. It's the people that you meet, and it's the interactions, and community is very big to me, and helping people is very big to me. And so all of that just has been leading up to this, into where I had done all my collecting and speculating on again, this investment of something that could go nowhere, that people think is very fanciful and just, the funny books and whatnot. But as you've seen, comic books being graded, Magic the Gathering being graded, these types of things, the rarity, the numbers of these cards, right? There's only so many Black Lotuses. There are only so many Mox Pearls. There is an Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, and all these different series. It is literally what NFTs are. It is exactly the same type of thing, but just digitally done now. And so, to answer your question in a long roundabout way, I spend a lot of my time. The KCBC is Kansas City Bitcoin Cryptocurrency. That's my name, my in-game name. A lot of people are confused about that. Why are you not Uplando in the game? Why are you KCBC? That was the FOMO kicking in, because I had Uplando registered with an email address. I tried to get it confirmed, right? And I could never get that email to get the confirmation on the email. And I spent a week trying to do that. Anybody who's ever gone through the pains of the support, I feel you. I've been there. And I said, I'm just going to do KCBC, and we'll see if I can get it, to authorize, and it did. And then I thought, I'll change my name later. That shouldn't be a problem. And so, but as we all know, now it's a little bit easier to do. But so I'm KCBC in the game. I'm Uplando in Discord and for things that I do. And that's how I got started. I split my time between my interests that are crypto, NFTs, art, other, and then life. And it's all kind of just blending one into the other. I'm sure you two know.
Yeah.
Time is just you look up and it's hours and days and weeks and months go.
So true. So true. Yeah. So I wanted to ask a follow-up question. I know that you are heavily involved. You kind of alluded to your involvement with the Upland Cafe. I know that there's probably a lot of listeners here who haven't been exposed to the cafe. It's in Discord. We can actually put a link to it in the description of this video and just give you an opportunity as one of the OGs of the cafe and really the pioneer of pushing it forward. Kind of give us your story of getting involved with the cafe and kind of what it is.
Yeah, my experience with Upland was there was no messaging in game. It was befuddling to me. I am this digital avatar running around on my Block Explorer, and I can't talk to anybody. I can't. It was perplexing to me that I had no in-game communication, and I had run across, as many do, and saw, there's Telegram, there's Discord, and Discord I had used it before. It had been used for the Kansas City Bitcoin cryptocurrency group and other groups that I was with. Telegram as well. Not as big of a fan as Telegram. I do like the structure of Discord a little bit better. So got into Discord, found my way to the Upland Discord server, started looking at all the channels as we all do. We get dropped in and it's overwhelming. It's like it's like scuba diving for the first time. You go through the tank of oxygen that you're supposed to have for an hour and 20 minutes. You're like, wow, that went fast. But I started looking through all of those channels, players like TM and T Davis who pulled me in. One of the first times we had, the collections that we were trying to get swapped and property swap between everyone. I was so grateful for those two and them helping me kind of go through that. And that was the first time that I'd had anybody really interact. You see the names, right? And you just are typing. It's all text. It's all chat. It goes back to that kind of environment, but you never do hear anybody's voice. Everybody has a pseudonym. You leave your in real world name behind. You go into Discord, you get yourself a pseudonym, and then you run around and you try to communicate with text. And that's not the easiest thing to do. So as the progression happened, we were minting these cities, and I got into the Upland Development United, which Ben 68, he was the creator of that. And we started having Zoom, right? We started having Zoom meetings and web meetings that we would mint these new cities. And that was such a great experience and so much fun. Scooby from Icon, who was in UDU as well, had always started to talk about, hey, we should do this for the entirety of the game. And I was like, yeah, that would be cool to have everybody in Discord in one place to be able to mint and talk and just have an ongoing conversation instead of typing everything. And we had talked to the team about it, a little here and there, messaging them. And ultimately what it boiled down to was Scooby going into general and talking to me and saying, he was chatting me and said, hey, let's do this. Let's ask for for Santa Clara, let's see if they'll open a voice channel, because we had the stage, but the Upland stage was just, you're a participant, you're watching this, you don't get to interact. They have to bring you on stage to talk. So they did that a couple times and they moved that over to YouTube, but nothing in our voices. So Scooby and I in general we just were relentless. We want voice channel. We want a voice channel. We want a voice channel. And finally, Joe Moore said, fine. Is that what you want? And we're like, yes. And so he goes, there it is. Upland Cafe. It's your voice channel. Thank you. Have a good day. And so we all jumped in Santa Clara. We had a great time. We had, I don't know, probably 60, 70 plus people in there, which was amazing to us, mind blowing. And then after that, the channel went dark and nobody used it. Every once in a while, somebody would pop in and they would just sit around or hang out there, and nobody would really go in. And I, being not of UCN, I not really having any type of role in that, I wanted to see if somebody else was going to jump in there. And I had always planned on doing it. My application for Metaventures, which is known as Beta Business, in my application over a year ago, I said I wanted to have the first radio station in Upland. That was something I kind of slid in there.
Cool.
And this was my opportunity. If you want to be a professional at something, you have to be an amateur first.
That's right.
And that's what I decided to do. I would say, I'm going into the cafe for an hour. Anybody who wants to ask me anything, any questions whatsoever, I'll do my best to answer them, but with my voice, with our voices. And it started with me and one, bringing a player in and talking, and then a couple players would come in, and then it ballooned to what it is now. I do 6 nights a week, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I do the Uplando show. It's just where I
love
go
it.
and I go, take everything from news and information, players that drop a little bit of something in my ear, and boom, I just go live and we help everybody we can. It is the cafe. It is not the bar. So we have a code of conduct and we keep it community. We don't shame with the answers. We're not sarcastic about what we do with the answers. We help players. And it's really gratifying to do that. It's really good.
I love that. I really love what you're doing for the community. You've definitely helped a lot of people. I join at least once a week and check out the Uplando segment in the Upland Cafe. If you haven't, definitely be sure to check it out. Tell us again what time that's at every weekday.
The cafe is open 247, 365,
Yeah.
right? It's open all the time. But my part of that in the show that I do is 9 p.m. Central Standard Time for the Uplando show. And it's about an hour and a half that I do. And I run it like a radio program. I have guests on.
Cool.
And it's fun. It's a good time.
And do a lot of people come there specifically to ask questions about how to navigate the game and how to be successful?
It is the definition of the cafe. It is that which people just leave on as an ongoing stream of thought and consciousness, but it is mainly centered around understanding the game. Because you can learn if what you can learn in 2 weeks, you can learn in 20 minutes in the cafe, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's a fast track way to do it. And we have so many great players that have specialized in flipping properties, treasure hunting, doing the legits, filling out collections, all the pitfalls that you've ever gone through, all the frustrations, how to do this, how to do that. And it's so fast. It's so great. It's such a pay it forward thing.
Wow, that's so great, man. Way to, jump into a game, get the feel of it yourself, start to master it, and then give back by creating this. And I love the tenacity that you and your bros had by, ensuring that you got this cafe created, and you're just in there giving back. Like, that's fantastic. Now, one question I have is, they always say that the old cliche is that the teacher sometimes learns more than the student. And I'm wondering if, even though you're working with maybe, as you're sitting there in the cafe, you're talking with some beginners of the game who are just learning the basic tasks of how to move around and how to be successful. Have you learned anything from some of these folks who kind of just drop some little like crazy nugget of wisdom that you're like, I never would have approached it that way until I heard it put that way? And then, so, I mean, are you benefiting from this as well in some regard?
Every day. And I can't keep up with it all. And so we've got an entire world that's playing the game.
Yeah.
And everybody brings a different perspective. And that's what I love about it. Yeah. What I dig is that if I don't have something correct, somebody that does know the answer brings it in. And that's when I'm like, eureka, this is what this is about.
Cool.
It is disseminating the information into facts and as close as we accurately as we can, and the technical aspects of the game versus the opinions and otherwise judgment, even sometimes, of players that are taking actions.
Yeah.
And my role in that was to always have an open mind as to what was going on in the game and seeing it from both sides and doing my best to deliver an open forum that players could, it's not a vicious type of thing back and forth. It's more of a spirited debate on some things. But at the end of the day, it's amazing because you're in there talking, and then like D's Rex from South Africa, when we're in the middle of the day, he's waking up and coming on and saying hello, right? Or
so
God
cool.
says, what's that?
I said, yeah, that's so cool. That's awesome to have that kind of interaction with people throughout the world.
You know, one
Yep.
thing I love about that, in fact, one thing that I'm envious of you is that, you know, LOYLDOYL and I, we have this channel here and we broadcast outward. We get a lot of comments in, and you know, LOYLDOYL really is the chief, you know, kumbaya CEO of this channel, right? And so he's in there answering questions left and right, and I go in there and I read from time to time. And it's nice to see this community and to kind of interact a little bit. But you're interacting in real time. You're interacting with voice. We're interacting with comments. You're interacting with human beings. And so, what's your sense of the global diversification of the community within this game? Is it mostly Western Hemisphere? I mean, you mentioned, you know, the fellow from South Africa. I mean, I know crypto. There's you know, there's some nations that are just really, really big into crypto, like Nigeria, Vietnam, Brazil, Singapore. You know, and so it's this global movement. But I'm wondering, how far is Upland taking that reach so far in the community that you've experienced?
Everything that you just named and more are the countries that are represented in the cafe.
Okay.
It is a lot of domestic United States because that's all the cities that have opened,
Yeah,
right? We've all
right.
had domestic. So, but Brazilians, Peruvians, we've had, you know, it's Scandinavian, it's all over the world. You just point at the map, and we've had somebody from the cafe. It would be great. I haven't heard. There's been Mandarin, but again, we're you know, it's English speaking now. To that point, we only have one cafe. We only have one voice channel.
Right.
And to be able to have that voice channel open, we have to have a moderator. It's an Upland official moderator that's in there at all times, so that you can imagine, you know, that's what you're going to want in there. And the success of the cafe has been based upon how we conduct ourselves. If you want that same type of behavior, then you behave that way.
Right.
And people will generally accept that behavior. And if they don't, they go elsewhere. But most times it is that welcoming type of community that it goes back to. And to your point, McSqueeb, about interacting real time, I did the YouTube videos, and I've done that, and some very interesting ones at that, very controversial members of or players in the game that I still have left up, not running from those. But it is that interaction. I get to do it real time. I don't record these. I haven't done podcasts. There's been 2 episodes that have outwardly been, that's been 68 and Edon, the AMA that I hosted with him when he came in. And those are for consumption. You know, you can replay those, and those links are out there in Upland. But yes, McSqueeb, I love the format. We were earlier today. Earlier we were doing with some technical things and working with that. I don't have to deal with any of that. I don't have to do the production. I don't have to cut in anything. I just go in, and it's just me interacting with everyone.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah, it's always a really good time. One thing I was thinking, I really love to get like futuristic about where Upland could go, and I love that you had this idea of a radio show. You can even
So
picture
cool.
like when in the future with cars, like getting in your virtual car and like a radio show comes on, you tune into a radio show. You know, were you thinking about it in that kind of a way? Like when you first thought of a radio show, how did you think it would maybe interact with the metaverse? So to speak.
KQRQ, Fresno, California. Good morning. We're on. Yes, exactly that.
Dude, that's so cool.
That's exactly what I wanted to do. Is my approach to this game, and I know you didn't ask this in that manner, but my approach to this game was I had the perception, I didn't know, but that again, forgoing my in real life persona and taking on a new persona inside of this game. And that's the way I approached it. Uplando is a character that it's over time from my huge interest in movies, music, pop culture. I really, really, really love those film noir detectives. You know, I love Sam Spade, you know, Casablanca, all the way from Nick Nolte and LA Confidential. you name it, even Bob Hoskins in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I mean, I love that
That's
type
cool.
of character. I love that you can call it down and out, or just that character that has been, banned from the force. They got fired from the force, but they had good intentions and they did something that technically got them fired from the police force, and now they're doing their thing as a private
Right.
detective.
Right.
And I've always loved that. And so that's the persona that Uplando. That is who Uplando is. And that radio part of this was something that I felt would be a way to interact with people. And I did really think that they were going to move very fast and they were going to have in-game communication and I could broadcast and run a radio station, but that hadn't happened. And so in for what it was that I wanted to do and where I felt that the features of the game and where we're going, and I hope I'm answering that question. Maybe you could restate it so that I can make sure that I'm on point and I don't just.
No, that's perfect. I feel like you've done
You're
a
on
really
roll,
good
bro.
job.
You're flowing. Keep going.
Yeah.
This is good.
It's I cafes have been announced for Metaventures in the roadmap, and the golden era of interaction and communication in the game is happening right now. It started in Discord, and now the voice part of it has come in. And yes, I have always thought like GTA type style, when you dial into your radio, having that radio station 247 365 with player based content. So if it's anyone that has any style or genre of music, from rock to rap to classical to instrumental, those having that art form, not, everybody just doesn't have the same opportunities to make it. And that's what I love about NFTs,
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
you get your chance in the gallery. You don't have to know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody to get a showing, right? You can do that.
Yep.
And so the radio station was that, and it still is. I'm still working on it. I've had many, starts that just didn't get off the ground, and refining it. Sometimes it's good to wait. Sometimes it's good to not succeed the first time you go out, or not quite nail it. And so what I'm looking to do is just that, is to have that radio station to be able to broadcast, doing it now in the cafe where there's one voice channel in Upland. I'm telling you, by the end of this year, there may be 100, right? So we're all enjoying ourselves right now in the golden age in the one channel. There could be many. Bittersweet.
Don't you think it's going to grow respectively, like at a really healthy level, though? Because we're having so many more players, and I'm sure you're seeing the cafe like numbers get bigger and bigger. And I think it would get to a point where if there's 500 people in there and everyone wants a chance to talk, that maybe that would be too many anyway. But right now, it seems like it's a pretty healthy number of people interacting in the cafe because there's only one. But we heard today that there's now 200,000 property owners in the game. It was just on December 3rd that Upland announced there was 1,000 or 111,000 or whatever, right? So it's been a month and a half, and we've pretty much doubled in size.
Wait, so in the last 6 weeks, Upland has gained 89,000 new.
Over 89,000 new unique property owners. So we are seeing growth like never before, because clearly that didn't happen the month prior to that. So that means over December and January we've had the most massive growth that Upland has ever seen.
Wow.
And it's happening right now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's true.
Uplando, just out of curiosity, what would you attribute that growth to?
I think the NFLPA legits. I think that they have an infusion of capital from Animoca, which was an $18 million deal. NFT NYC happened. Dirk was there. The whole team was there. They spoke. It is that mention of the word. If you ask people, if you go into any given place, it's a restaurant, it's a venue, wherever you go, and you surveyed all the people and you ask them, what is Bitcoin? they would either say they know, they've heard of it most definitely, and then they could tell you like, oh, it's a cryptocurrency, and oh, I'm on Coinbase. Or but if you ask them what an NFT is, they'll go, what? And that's the same thing that was what cryptocurrency was when you asked that question about Bitcoin. They may know what cryptocurrency is, but they're just now catching on to what an NFT is, even though it's very well, it's out there. We all know about it. It's daily chatter for us. But that's what I attribute to is the $69 million Beeple,
Yeah.
the continued, the $20 million Adidas pairing terrestrial products, hoodies, shoes, other with their NFT products, Garbage Pail Kids, Princess Bride, uh, everything that you can imagine is now being tokenized and put into NFTs. Blade Runner, you name it, Iron Maiden, it's all coming to that, and I think that that's what's driving it. I wanted to also address about the numbers in the cafe. We have, and again, this is unofficial. I have unofficially been kind of taking the helm at this and trying to do the best that I can. The New Zealanders and the Australianers have their own show. It's every Wednesday,
Cool.
and it's UTC. Ben 68 and Lily. Lily is the moderator. Again, you have to have a moderator as a prerequisite. If we want to do a show, contact me. And they do their thing, and it's excellent. It is their dialect, and what I mean by that is like the accents that they have, and you learn all this cool slang. Bloody drags, and or bloody dags, and Lily calls me a drongo. So when I do something, like when I'm a nincompoop, she'll come on and say, Uplando, you're being a drongo. You're being a drongo. And it's fun. And so we're starting to see more even diversification in languages that want to host their own show. And it's coming. There's going to be a calendar and a schedule, and it's becoming more organized. It used to just be freestyle, but it's starting to get that way, LOYLDOYL and McSqueeb. And we are going to see that again. This is the early stage into what cafes will become.
Awesome.
And that's where it'll go.
So yeah, cafes will be a future type of business, right? The current businesses that exist, Uplando, if you didn't know, is actually one of 10 Beta Business Metaventure owners. This is something I still personally have a lot of questions about. If I wanted to list one of my block explorers for sale in your shop, how do I go about doing that?
Good question. And I want to answer it. I always take the long way of the answer, but
that's fine.
This question gets asked a lot. And I want to address something that was even in general chat today about this. And many players in Upland, many contributors of content and other, just wherever you are within the game, there's always that different perspective. And the perspective is monopoly. It's a monopoly. There's only 10 of you. It's monopolization. And here's the thing. You find Upland when you find Upland. And when you do get into the game, think about it from this perspective. When we first started, there was no fiat out. There was no way to otherwise have a voice communication. We didn't have all the discussions and the shows and the guests and as many of the whales that have come in to the game that we have, or the third-party tools that we have to support a secondary market. And when you're putting in real money or cryptocurrency into something that had no way to get it out, you have to go on your recognition of having done your own research and really having faith and trust and looking up the creators of the game. How many of you, I would ask, have read the white paper? How many of you have really went and took a look at the team and understood what their past projects have been? And did you go on a leap of faith? And what was your entrance into the game? Now, everybody has the same access when they get into the game to register to buy Spark, to register to buy Block Explorers, to apply for what was then Beta Business. Everyone, it was open to everyone. So I just took the initiative and the hard work to run and with it, and a 7-point business plan. I wrote it just like I would in the real world.
Cool.
I approached it like it was going to be any other businesses of the businesses that I have run, serial entrepreneur, right? And I did so and made the cut and was awarded a beta business license, which has changed. I don't own a business license. I pay Metaventures dues. It's a big difference from what we had originally gotten and signed up for. And so as we move forward, we were looking at a 30 to 90 day kind of acclimation to how it was going to run, and then we were going to be off and running. It has been over a year since we had first known about Beta Business, or what is now Metaventures, to opening the shop. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's 20 of us. There was decor and block explorers. And I might add that at the beginning, at one point, you had to have, for block explorers, it was 1 million UPX, okay, which is 1,000 USD in your wallet to qualify. And that was then what would assume to be, it was 5 million UPX or 5,000 USD for decor. Now, it's different in how they decided to do that. Ultimately, we didn't have to pay that. But think about that. You're putting into that money. If you could roll back time, many players that have salt about this went through the application process but didn't feel like putting the investment in. If you could walk back right now and mint New York, what would your answer be? LOYLDOYL McSqueeb, would you do it? Well, how would you go about it?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Dude, I'd go back and buy 3,000 properties in Harlem, however many exist.
Manhattan, I'd be all over it.
And so right now, we're about ready to get into LA. And people will say the same thing. For everybody that's just now getting into this game and having the opportunity to mint a tier 1 city right now, of course. Yes, so the opportunities that came or that were afforded to me at the time, I decided to take and really take that leap of faith and go into it. And it's come to this, which has been the evolution of all of this into where I opened the Block Explorer shop. I'm going to plug it like it is, but I'm going to tell you, because the address doesn't, when you type in the address of the business, it does not show up in the search in Upland.
Hey, we zoomed in on it and showed it on one of our last videos, by the way. So we're trying to help you. But yeah, shout it out for us.
110 Yosemite Freeway we'll bring you to the front door. Cool. And to your question about the Block Explorers, if you have Block Explorers and you've invested in this, how would you be able to sell it inside of any Metaventures Block Explorer shop? Okay, the first thing is you have that acquaintance and you contact them directly. Direct message them and say, hey, I'm interested in listing that. Our approach to this, or my approach to this,
sorry, is that you recommend people reach out to you on Discord? Is that right? And are most Metaventure shop owners, is that how they're communicating with these people who want to list their Block Explorers for sale?
That's correct.
Okay,
that's right. And again, my approach to this had been, us Metaventure Block Explorer store owners cannot create original content. We don't have any ability to, spin up and create voxel, polygon block explorers and put them on sale. All we can do right now is use our own stock. That's what we were told that we can do. Whatever you've collected, and as a collector, it's tough for me to be able to give up that which I'm holding on to of my own personal stock of block explorers. But also, we don't have any wholesaling pathway. So we don't have a distributor that's going to sell us block explorers from Upland that we can then turn like you would any other type of business, right? This is how business works. You buy a certain amount of something, you get a reduced price on it, you have a front store or retail store, and then boom, you're able to sell that for a profit. We are, just as you, the player, getting into the registration line and then hoping that we actually are one of to be able to buy these block explorers at retail, and then put them on sale in the shop, pay the fees that are associated, right? And then we, on top of that, pay a Metaventures dues with all the marketing that we do, with all the interaction that we do, the people that help us, like the goldsmith who helps me, store manager. That takes a lot of effort. And I feel like some of these Metaventures, being the first isn't always being the best, or having the best shot at it, or the best position in the game. It means that we are literally working out all the bugs. We are beta. It's a closed beta. we are reporting back to the team on a daily basis so that when you or others that want to be inside Metaventures have the opportunity to apply, get the best of that
Yeah.
store experience.
Yeah.
So, like as of right now, would you maybe make me an offer for one of my block explorers that you wanted to sell, or would I come to you and have to like trade it to you and then get UpX later? Like what kind of how does that work with you having to currently own it yourself?
So the model that we looked at, which we felt if you have your block explorers, and this is for anybody, if you have the address of a player and there's other third-party utilities, you can look at all the assets that they hold. And I would go to your address and I would click on your username in the game, your in-game name, and then I could look at all your assets, the block explorers. And yes, you've got an impressive collection of block explorers. So there are many things in there that I would like to have. Now, if I offer you openly a price for those block explorers, for me as a store owner to put out that capital and maybe have to sit on that, and depending upon what the market is, I didn't feel that that was fair, because I then have to go and ask you to part with an asset that you've been sitting on, that you have a value established, that I have to immediately lowball you on. And look, that just doesn't feel right to me. So going into this, it's all consignment for us. The Goldsmith and I, we took that path. That was our pathway. That's what we do. We work with players, to establish the price of what the current market value is on their block explorer, and they get the lion's share of the revenue. That can be from anywhere up to 70 and beyond percent.
Cool.
That the actual players are getting back in return.
Very cool, man. That's awesome.
That's cool. Okay, so they come up with an offer. You guys come to an agreement. They just trade it to you, or they sell it to you for cheap, and then when you sell it, that's how you get money back to them. Or how does that how does it work in the end? All the logistics.
So unlike some of the other channels, and I'm going to call it black market, we do not do over the counter for cash or crypto, because that is circumventing, in my opinion, and from Upland having suggested or having made certain statements around that, is circumventing the game. You're not contributing to the community pool when you do that, right? How is the value shown? How are you showing these trades that go back and forth? And if you can do that all day long, there would be no economy. And this game from Dirk and Don has been talked about as a player-run economy. So if you're skirting the economy, that fails to prop up the game and be that which it should be, which is a player-run economy in the game. So what we do is we establish what the block explorer is, how many block explorers, whatever the price is going to be on, in the store. And then we, at this time, don't have a way for you to submit those to us. We have to use another asset to trade you for the block explorer so that it's in my assets and put up on the store. That means I have to burn a Spirit Legits or a NFL PA Legits or an Ornament Legits, okay? That then I otherwise am trading you to get the stock in-house.
Yep.
So I'm burning assets to gain assets and then putting that in the store. So yeah, we're running out of burners at this point. Yeah. So I can't stock the store right now to a certain degree. I'm on my last legits, and you can imagine, because I have some really high valued legits that I'm now having to be very creative and have to be very trustworthy with somebody to put those in the ownership. This is why, the temp swapping and all this stuff, but I'm literally handing over ownership of my digital asset to get a asset that's of lower value to trade for those block explorers, to bring them inside, to put them on sale in the store. So a lot of trust is going into this process, and we're doing the best we can.
So how is the player getting the money back, like their portion, 70% or more, like you said? How are they getting that back? Is that built into when it's listed, that part of it's going to go to them, part of it's going to go to you? How does that work?
It's not a mechanic that's in the shop right now. It would be great. They've talked about the transfer of UpX from player to player. You've heard that come in. You've heard about finance and the Upland update that X1 has given. You talked about property management and finance in the business, or that would be Metaventures potentially. We don't have that mechanic right now. So we work within the guidelines and the technical guidelines of the game, not to break TOS. And we work with properties in being able to transfer that, as many do in the game. So yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, thanks for sharing the details. I think that really helps a lot of people who were kind of confused about what's going on with Metaventures.
Yeah,
And we pay the 5%,
Yeah.
right? So when we do that, instead of being able to just transfer UPIX, a lot of people don't realize that. If you think about it, when people say, "Wow, you're only getting so," why are you guys are taking that much? Think about what we just talked about and the complexity of it, the trust, and then the business of, right?
Yeah.
Sounds like
I'm not complaining.
Yeah. From what I hear you saying is that it's a great opportunity to have a Metaventure, currently a beta business, but it does not mean that you are all of a sudden, just rolling in UPIX. There's risk involved, there's work involved, and there's costs involved for you. And it sounds like if you're reporting back to Upland, to the team on a daily basis, it sounds like there's some real prolonged, communication and effort and attention involved as well. So it does sound like having a Metaventure is a great opportunity, but at the same time, you, like you said, you are pioneering this effort, and we will all benefit from that pioneering effort in the future. Those of us who, I guess, will be lucky enough to obtain a Metaventures license, I guess, and be able to move forward with that venture.
The bar is going to be significantly lowered. So the barrier for entry is going to be much better for players. You're not going to have this very almost lottery style pick of who's going to be in this business. This had always been targeted or otherwise open to players that wanted to put in a huge effort. It's a huge, it's an ask, and it is a full-time, part-time job is what it is.
Yeah.
And we are building that which would otherwise, again, once other players come into the Metaventures business, into that ecosystem, and they dial it up and they spin it up, imagine that all of those bugs kind of being worked out and having all the extra features that we are otherwise implementing and helping the team to implement. So it's a long path, and it's not going to be right around the corner for other businesses. It's going to take a while.
Right.
So we do everything that we can to, with what we have been given, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's the only way that I can go about it, but we all cannot kill ourselves just because there is a perspective that it's not fair. I understand the argument, but
yeah. Hey, so we know that you have your radio show in about 5 minutes, and so we should probably wrap this up. But one question that I hope to ask of everybody who's going to be in these Upland Stories videos from with you, and then moving on forward, is, can you just share with us just one maybe favorite strategy of yours in the game that you've found to be helpful and help you to achieve success?
I will, and it's one of the most important ones, and I talk about it. I'm going to be talking about it tonight, and that is, you've got to find, in my opinion, players that you can trust and that you can do the research of. When LA, which is going to be open, we don't know, maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the strategy in going into that, and this has been the same. When I started this game, I had somebody that had direct messaged me, Satoshi's View, and kind of vetted me and was poking around and asking me questions. And my acquaintance with Satoshi, into the friendship, and actually having done business and having broken bread with the man, has us spending hour upon hour upon hour every evening when New York was open and speculating. Like just us three right now in a small group, I call them pods of people that will go over every square inch. At that time, we knew all the boundaries and all the city outline and the neighborhood outlines and the property outlines. And we would talk for hours about speculation because it was in vanilla, which we hope that the release of LA is in vanilla. And we would talk about the Bowery. We would talk about, Soho. We would talk about Harlem, and we would travel through these areas, and we would pull up properties and look at the street view. That has carried on. I still do that today. and some of the players have changed, but the core part of my strategy has stayed and remains the same. I have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z, and then start over with the double A plan, B, C, D. And if any of you know that and have really kind of looked at that and what goes into a city opening, we were able to leisurely stroll about Manhattan in New York for a month plus and choose the properties,
Wow.
what we wanted.
That's so cool.
Yes, yes, it was. It was. And now, what, an hour the Bronx sold out in? An hour. That doesn't give you much time to do anything. And LA is a big area. It's a big city,
Yep.
but
What's your prediction? What's your prediction for how fast it goes? I predicted less than a week, but some people are saying no, they think it's going to be too expensive for it to go that fast, but I'm curious your thoughts.
technically there has to be the amount of all-in UPX currently with give or take percentages of who's going to put in money at the last minute to buy and mint LA. Right now, there's not enough UPX that I have calculated in wallets to mint LA. Okay.
Liquidity is what you're saying, right?
What's that?
Liquidity is what you're.
Liquidity. That's
Yeah,
right. Liquidity. Yeah. I don't, and again, somebody's going to come back and go, dumb Uplando didn't know that there was this much. But from what I was last looking at, there's just not that much. So to the question, it is this. With FSA involved, without FSA involved, but it's FSA, the whole thing minted tip to toe. I mean, I think it's a month. I just don't think that people, if they do it in this size, if they do LA City, which is huge, huge, it could be with the pricing, it could take a little while longer. And I think that that's what the team is counting on. But don't be surprised if it's a week. So.
Top prediction for a collection in LA?
The two that I'm going to focus in on for you is by Brentwood, and there's a neighborhood right by Brentwood that I'm gonna blow it right now. What's right next to Brentwood to the coast? If you guys, I've got the map up. I should have just went there. Oh, Brentwood and Pacific Palisades, and this is why I say
smart.
Here's standard. I always try to go on a lock, right? So lower Ninth Ward, NOLA. The night before, I kept talking about lower Ninth Ward, lower Ninth Ward, lower Ninth Ward, and finally, people were like, "You put your money where your mouth is if you're going to buy." So, okay, I will. So I went in the night before and I just bought a bunch of it. And I said, there you go. That's my lock. I call that as a standard. Luckily, it came up as that. For standard areas, you've got to have a good, densely populated area with a lot of compact properties, okay? And in my opinion, when we went into Berkeley, I was all upper North Berkeley or Berkeley Park, whatever there was the north side of that. And then I changed my, went in and bought South Berkeley. So that happened. Brentwood and Pacific Palisades, in my opinion, are standard collection targets, okay? And the smart play also here is all of that west-facing Chatsworth, West Hills, Woodland Hills, Warner Center, Pacific Palisades, that is your jump point to when Santa Monica comes into the game. Everything west.
Yeah.
Yep,
for sure.
So you're talking about a lot of property area there that may not be collection, but are you kidding? Jump points?
Yeah.
And if I may, here's some other tidbits and notes, and then I know we're time permitting, but that's okay. The LA City does not recognize some of these neighborhoods like San Fernando, Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, Culver City, Marina Del Rey, Universal City. If you're looking to go into those, you might be left out. And so do your research, take a good look at this. And yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, so a really good strategy there is to buy a property right on the border of where future properties will be released, and then prior to when those properties go live, you can send your own property and make sure your character is going in the right direction. So that's kind of that's the gem of knowledge Uplando's given to us. So
for the flip, you're going to flip these properties on border properties that you have as jump points. Are you kidding me? The flip in LA is going to be absolutely unbelievable.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Uplando, you are a scholar and a gentleman. We appreciate you being on the show tonight. Any parting words before we let you go, and so you can host your own radio show in the cafe?
I have been I'm so appreciative that you guys have me on the show. I could talk to you guys for a week straight. And I know we only had a little portion of time here. I love what you do. I love the production value that you have both brought into this game and being UCN. And congratulations on that. Look, we could go on for days about the controversial plays and things that people have done, but I will say this: there is some very smart moves that have been put into play, and I won't get into the details, but I applaud anyone who has that gumption to really do that and play still within the TOS and make a go of it and do something that radical. So tip of the hat for you, LOYLDOYL, in doing so, even if that meant that some people went, I don't like that. A lot of people aren't going to like what you do. And a lot of people are going to otherwise be very judgmental of that. My take on this entire experience is the community and what we can do to really bring people together from around the world. And I know it sounds corny, and label that as you will, but this is really the beginning of the metaverse and what can be done here. I wish everybody the best of luck for Los Angeles, and definitely that this can be something really special. And for everybody who had and went into this with faith into it, I hope it turns out well for everybody. Thank you for having me on the show. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And we will definitely plan on having Uplando again in the future.
Absolutely.
For sure. There will definitely be an episode 2 with Uplando in the future. So,
but in the meantime, everybody be sure to go out to the cafe and get to know Uplando if you haven't yet already.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, we hope to see you in the next one. Peace out.
Buddy.